For decades, millions admired Steffi Graf as the quiet champion who seemed to have everything: fame, records, and a perfect life. But behind the trophies and unforgettable victories was a painful journey few people truly understood. As she reached 57, old memories, personal losses, and long-hidden struggles began touching fans in a completely different way. Was her greatest battle really fought on the tennis court, or did the hardest part of her story begin after the applause faded? Long before Steffi Graf became one of the greatest tennis players in history, she was simply a little girl with a dream that many people thought was impossible. Few could have guessed that the quiet child from Germany would one day change the sport forever. But every champion has a beginning, and Steffi's story started with hard work, sacrifice, and a childhood that was very different from most. Steffi Graf was born on June 14, 1969, in Mannheim, West Germany. From a very young age, tennis became a huge part of her life. Her father, Peter Graf, noticed her natural talent early and introduced her to the game when she was only 3 years old. While other children spent their afternoons playing with friends, Steffi spent countless hours practicing on the tennis court. Her father believed she could become a world champion. He created a strict training routine that focused on discipline, speed, and powerful ground strokes. It wasn't always easy. Training took up much of her childhood, leaving little time for a normal life. Birthdays, holidays, and simple family moments were often replaced by practice sessions and tournaments. Even as a young girl, Steffi rarely complained. She was quiet, focused, and determined. Instead of seeking attention, she let her racket do the talking. Coaches quickly realized they were watching someone special. Her powerful forehand and incredible footwork made her stand out from players much older than she was. At just 13 years old, Steffi turned professional. It was a huge step for someone so young. Suddenly, she was traveling the world, competing against experienced athletes, and carrying the hopes of a nation. The pressure was enormous, but she continued to improve with every tournament. By the mid-1980s, tennis fans began to notice a new rising star. Her calm personality was very different from the louder personalities often seen in sports. She didn't chase headlines or drama. She simply worked harder than almost everyone else. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 1987, Steffi defeated Martina Navratilova in the French Open final to win her first Grand Slam title. It wasn't just another victory. It marked the beginning of a new era in women's tennis. Fans around the world realized they were witnessing the rise of a once-in-a-generation talent. But success brought new expectations. Everyone made people expect even more. The spotlight became brighter, the pressure grew heavier, and every match carried the weight of history. What no one could see was that behind the trophies and smiling photographs, Steffi was beginning to feel the true cost of becoming a global superstar. And as her fame grew, an even greater challenge was waiting just around the corner. Winning one Grand Slam was incredible, but staying at the top was a completely different challenge. Every time Steffi Graf stepped onto the court, the world expected another victory. Fans celebrated her success, but few understood the pressure that came with carrying the title of the world's best player. After her breakthrough, Steffi's career took off at an unbelievable pace. Tournament after tournament, she defeated some of the biggest names in tennis. Her speed, powerful forehand, and calm mindset made her one of the toughest opponents anyone could face. She wasn't loud or dramatic. She simply let her game speak for itself. Then came 1988, a year that many sports experts still call one of the greatest seasons in tennis history. Steffi achieved something no player had ever done before. She won all 4 Grand Slam tournaments: the Australian Open, the French Open, Wimbledon, and the US Open. But she didn't stop there. She also won the Olympic gold medal in Seoul, completing what became known as the Golden Slam, a feat that remains unique in singles tennis. To the world, it looked like perfection. Magazine covers, television interviews, and sponsorship deals followed. Everywhere she went, people wanted a photo or an autograph. She had become a global icon, admired not only for her talent, but also for her humble personality. But behind that success was a demanding lifestyle. Professional tennis meant constant travel, long practice sessions, strict fitness routines, and almost no time to relax. Week after week, she flew from one country to another, always preparing for the next big match. There was little room for mistakes because every opponent wanted to be the one who defeated Steffi Graf. The pressure wasn't only coming from rivals. The media watched her every move. Every loss became front-page news. Every injury raised questions about whether she could stay on top. Even when she won, people immediately asked if she could do it again. As the years passed, physical pain also became part of her journey. Back problems, knee injuries, and other physical challenges forced her to miss important tournaments. Each comeback required months of hard work, patience, and determination. At the same time, personal difficulties began to surround her family. Legal problems involving her father brought unwanted attention and placed even more pressure on Steffi. Although she was not accused of wrongdoing, the headlines followed her everywhere. Instead of focusing only on tennis, she now had to deal with questions that had nothing to do with her performance on the court. Through it all, Steffi remained remarkably composed. She rarely responded with anger. She rarely complained in public. Instead, she chose silence, letting her actions define her character. That quiet strength earned her even greater respect. Yet it also hid the emotional weight she carried behind the scenes. As the 1990s continued, another unexpected chapter was about to begin, one that had nothing to do with trophies or rankings. It would introduce someone who truly understood her life, eventually changing her future in ways no championship ever could. For most of her life, Steffi Graf was known as the woman who let her tennis do the talking. She avoided the spotlight whenever she could and kept her private life away from the headlines. But after years of pressure, injuries, and endless competition, an unexpected friendship would slowly turn into one of the most admired love stories in sports. By the late 1990s, Steffi had already achieved almost everything a tennis player could dream of. She had won dozens of titles, inspired millions of fans, and secured her place among the greatest athletes in history. Yet her body was beginning to show the effects of years of intense competition. Recurring injuries made every tournament more difficult. Training became harder, and recovery took longer. Although she continued to fight with the same determination, she knew she couldn't compete forever. Around this time, another tennis legend entered her life in a very different way. American star Andre Agassi had admired Steffi for years. While both were famous around the world, they lived very different lives. Andre was known for his colorful personality and dramatic career, while Steffi remained quiet and reserved. Many people never imagined they would become one of tennis's most beloved couples. Their friendship grew through shared experiences. Both understood the pressure of global fame, the loneliness of life on tour, and the sacrifices required to become champions. They didn't need to explain what that life felt like. They had both lived it. In 1999, Steffi made one final unforgettable statement on the court by winning the French Open. Just a few months later, at only 30 years old, she announced her retirement from professional tennis. The decision surprised many fans. Some believed she still had more championships left to win. Others wondered if injuries had finally become too much. But for Steffi, the choice was about something deeper. She had spent nearly her entire life competing. Now she wanted the chance to enjoy a different kind of happiness, one that didn't depend on rankings or trophies. After retiring, her relationship with Andre Agassi became stronger. In 2001, the two married in a private ceremony, choosing simplicity over a grand celebrity event. It reflected exactly who they were, two world-famous athletes who valued family more than fame. Soon, they welcomed two children and focused on building a peaceful home life. Unlike many celebrities, Steffi rarely appeared in gossip magazines or sought public attention. Instead, she dedicated her time to her family and supported charitable work, including projects that helped children through her foundation. Fans noticed something special. The woman who had once carried the weight of an entire sport now seemed genuinely happy living a quieter life. But while retirement brought peace, it couldn't erase every painful memory. The physical injuries from years of competition remained, and some emotional wounds never fully disappeared. As birthdays passed and the years went by, fans began looking back at her incredible journey with new eyes. The smiling champion they remembered had carried far more pain than most people ever realized. And that painful truth is exactly why her story continues to touch millions today. From the outside, Steffi Graf's life looked almost perfect. She had broken records, earned worldwide respect, found lasting love, and built a happy family. Many fans believed she had left every struggle behind when she retired from tennis. But the truth was more complicated. The pain that followed Steffi wasn't always visible. Years of playing at the highest level had taken a heavy toll on her body. The powerful movements that thrilled millions of fans also placed enormous stress on her knees, back, and joints. During her career, she often competed while dealing with pain, choosing to push through injuries instead of stepping away. Even after retirement, the effects of those years didn't simply disappear. Like many former athletes, she had to live with the lasting impact of a career built on constant physical demands. The cheering crowds were gone, but the reminders remained. There was another kind of pain that few people truly understood. Throughout her career, Steffi protected her private life. She rarely answered personal questions and almost never spoke about the emotional weight she carried. One of the most difficult periods came when her father, Peter Graf, became involved in legal problems related to tax evasion. The case attracted enormous media attention. Although Steffi herself was not accused of any crime, reporters followed her everywhere. Instead of asking about her tennis, many wanted to know about her family. It was a painful situation for someone who had always tried to stay away from controversy. Still, she refused to attack others publicly or create more drama. She continued to compete with dignity, earning respect not only for her talent, but also for her composure during one of the hardest chapters of her life. As the years passed, fans also began to understand something else. Steffi had given up much of her childhood to become a champion. While other children enjoyed ordinary school days, vacations, and carefree afternoons, she spent countless hours training. That sacrifice helped her become one of the greatest tennis players ever. But it also meant missing experiences many people take for granted. Looking back today, many supporters no longer see only the trophies or the records. They see the determination, discipline, and quiet resilience behind every victory. That is why headlines claiming that Steffi's painful truth has been revealed often connect with people. The real story isn't about one shocking secret. It's about the lifelong cost of greatness. Physical injuries, intense public pressure, personal family challenges, and the sacrifices required to reach the top. Yet despite everything she endured, Steffi never allowed hardship to define her. Instead of seeking sympathy, she chose a life centered on family, privacy, and giving back through charitable work. Her strength wasn't just measured by the championship she won. It was also shown by the grace with which she handled life's toughest moments. Today, fans admire Steffi Graf for more than her incredible tennis career. They admire the person she became when the spotlight faded. And that may be her greatest victory of all. When people talk about Steffi Graf today, they don't only remember the trophies, the records, or the unforgettable matches. They remember a woman who proved that true greatness is about much more than winning. For years, Steffi lived under a level of pressure that very few people can imagine. Every match carried huge expectations. Every mistake became a headline. Every victory raised the bar even higher. Yet through all of it, she remained humble, respectful, and focused on what mattered most. That quiet strength is one reason fans still admire her. Unlike many celebrities, Steffi never tried to stay famous after retiring. She didn't chase attention or create controversy to remain in the news. Instead, she chose a peaceful life with her husband, Andre Agassi, and their children, keeping her family away from the constant spotlight. She also continued giving back through charitable work, especially by supporting programs that help children build better futures. While the cameras focused on her incredible tennis career, much of her work away from the court happened quietly, without seeking praise. As fans look back today, they see a life filled with remarkable achievements, but also with real sacrifices. She gave up much of her childhood to chase a dream. She lived with constant physical pain caused by years of elite competition. She faced intense media attention during difficult moments in her family's life. And even after becoming one of the greatest athletes in history, she chose humility over fame. Perhaps that is the real reason her story still touches millions. It reminds us that success doesn't erase life's challenges. Even people who appear to have everything can carry unseen burdens. Behind every championship was a young woman who worked harder than almost anyone else, accepted enormous sacrifices, and handled both victory and hardship with remarkable grace. When fans hear headlines like, "At 57, Steffi Graf's painful truth leaves fans heartbroken," they often expect a shocking secret. But the truth is both simpler and more powerful. There was no hidden scandal that changed everything. Instead, her story is one of resilience, the emotional and physical price of becoming one of the greatest tennis players the world has ever known. Today, Steffi Graf's legacy is measured not only by 22 Grand Slam singles titles and the historic 1988 Golden Slam, but also by the character she showed throughout her life. She inspired generations of athletes with her discipline, her humility, and her determination to keep moving forward, even when life became difficult. That is why her name continues to inspire people around the world. Because long after the cheers faded and the trophies were placed on the shelf, Steffi Graf showed that the strongest champions are not always the ones who win the most. They are the ones who face life's hardest moments with courage, dignity, and kindness.